about party time. Well, we all enjoy having parties, and we're all together here today for a big party, a birthday party. 35 years ago, we had a big party, a really big party. We couldn't have it in our church here, but we had it at the Romanian Orthodox Church, their party center on Warren Road. How many remember that time and were with us then?
Kevin and I got married that year.
Quite a few of us. Since then, okay, since that time, there have been many changes. At that time, I was a member of the committee, along with Jerry and, of course, John. And we are the only three that were on the committee, and we had 6 others. And I think some of you might remember them. Rollin was our pastor at that time. Chris Lalonde was the director of religious education. Mitzi was the office administrator. That was a fancy name, Mitzi. Bob Oswick was director of music, and Heidi Krugemeyer was the organist. Since that time, and over all the years, like I said, we had many changes. Actually, Dr. Nautz was our first pastor. We've had 13 changes of the pastor at our church. And that's a very hard time for a pastor, a very hard time for a congregation when a pastor is changed. It takes a very special person to be a pastor of a church. They must play many roles as pastor, such as preacher, teacher, leader, counselor, an organizer, to mention a few. We of the congregation have been very fortunate to have 12 men and recently 2 women be appointed to be pastors of Christ Church. We're glad that 4 of them return today to be with us, and as I read their names, I'd like them to just stand, and then we will give them just stand and remain for a few seconds when you all stand. First is Rollin. Gary, did Gary stay for the dinner?
He had to leave.
Okay. These pastors are very busy. Darlene? Who's another one? Diane? How about that? This month, October, is Pastor Appreciation Month. So it's appropriate that we're having this as a time of our celebration. So let's show our appreciation to them. Upstairs, next to the entrance doors to the sanctuary, is a plaque. And after a pastor leaves the church, their name and they say served us is placed on that plaque. I invite you to go up and look at them sometime and remember all of them. Good. Pass it in. Back there. Okay. Find it in my notes. This is typewriter. It's hard to read no spell check. But anyway, Diane, I plan to be here for many more years. And I'm going to keep sending you articles you might be interested in.
Thank you.
Many of it in future years. And it'll be a long time that you're here before your name has to be placed on the name of that plaque. Who's on right there? Speaking and thinking about change, like I said, there's been 13 pastors that have been changed in our church. And we're glad that these here today are able to be with us. We had, I think, 10 pastors. This is the program that we had at the golden anniversary 35 years ago. Listed on it are names of 10 pastors who have been associate pastors in the church. And there have been 5 pastors listed who have been pastors, who are ministers that came from our church. I want to mention and talk about one special person. I grew up with him when I was soon after I was born and was a young boy in church. I grew up with him, and he's been a very dear friend of mine for many years since. We were in the MYF, Methodist Youth Fellowship together. We were in the Boy Scout church together. We went to PW and had as a professor teaching Bible and religion, Bible studies. Dr. Nauts, who was a professor at PW after he was our pastor. And then my dear friend became a minister. I think you all know who I'm talking about, Dr. Roy Cunningham. I grew up with him, and what a dear friend was he. He went on to be a minister for many years, and was what I thought was the epitome of being a good church pastor. He came, during his time, he served the church and was pastor, and at the time of our country, it was going through the problems and difficulties at the time of the desegregation problems that we had. He and another pastor were appointed to different churches. Earl, a white pastor, was appointed to a black church. Another pastor who was black was appointed to a white church. They set an example trying to be an effective voice at the time during the desegregation period. After he retired from the ministry, he came back here to his home church, and he helped our pastor when there was a problem for them, and he also helped a great many of us during his years, because he was such a wonderful pastor, a great example, and he did that to the day he suddenly passed away. Actually, he died while swimming at Gunning Park Pool. His wife Ruby came with him, and was a very active member with him together. And when when it time for her to need care, her daughter Ruth and her husband came back to Cleveland to help care for her in her final days, and she passed away last year. But Ruth and Manny stayed with us and have been very active members of our church. You saw her in the choir today, and Manny has served, has helped being a liturgist several times since he's been here. We surely appreciate having them and carrying on the traditions of the Cunningham family here at Christ Church.
Amen.
Where's Ruby? Ruth is back there with me. Yeah. In the last 4 years, I've been watching a lot of cooking contests, TV shows. And at the end of a lot of them, someone jumps and say, "Time's up."
Time's up.
Only a few minutes left. I promise it'll be short. Anyway, besides the many changes that have been made in our church, there have been many things that haven't changed. Comes to mind, we always like to eat. Many meals we've eaten together. Too many to count. Today, we're eating a meal when the kitchen church has been renovated, And it's beautiful. Can't have it see it. That business of eating so much and together must give us a lot of DNA from our founders, the Wesleys. Another thing that comes to mind that never changes is the fact that we love music and love to sing. We showed that this morning when we were together. Just give me just a couple of before you come and chop me.
Where's that cane?
I had her leave it at home. But I must say that I have been very grateful to be a member of Christ's church family. It's been a wonderful time. It's been a wonderful group of loving and caring friends. I hope that we will do everything we can to keep it that way. To close, John, I want to say the words that Lester Holt, the newscaster on NBC, always tells his listeners, which I think is the essence of what Jesus taught us to his followers. Lester asks us to please take care of ourselves and each other. Let's do all we can to keep that asking before us. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of videos from folks that couldn't be here. Well, that's not true. Well, she's not saying anything, but yeah, we turned the sound up. Say whatever you want.
CUMC. I thank God for allowing me to be a part of your history. We had some great times together, and I will remember those times fondly. May God continue to bless you and keep you, especially as you strive to build up the kingdom of Jesus Christ here on earth. Thanks for remembering me and inviting me to the celebration. It's going to be a great day.
Do you want to say anything else, Darlene, or?
Dear friends of Christ United Methodist Church, how wonderful it is.
This is Nestor in his area.
Celebrating the 85th anniversary of being the hands and feet of Jesus in your surrounding community. I treasure the fond memories of the time I had the privilege of being your pastor and of journeying with you from 2008 through 2013. I remember how you really lived out the mission of the United Methodist Church of making and maturing disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. How welcoming and loving you were as a church to all visitors. How intentional you were in providing for the spiritual formation of all members and friends of all ages through multiple Bible studies, confirmation classes, and other small groups. Always providing room for diversity of thought and a willingness to ask challenging questions, living out our motto of open minds, open hearts, and open doors. I remember how outreach-oriented you were as a church, providing community meals at the church, at the Annunciation Catholic Church, and at First Hispanic United Methodist Church, and monthly food deliveries and cash to West Park Community Cupboards. Also providing facility usage to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts troops, and to Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step groups, among others. I remember the United Methodist Women organization support of Maria's Children's Home through 2 annual rummage sales and the once-a-year collection of mittens, scarves, and hats for the Westside Community House. I also remember the music ministry of the church filled with heavenly talent, the awesome choir, the 2 bell choirs, and the many talented musicians and soloists that made for an inspirational worship experience. As you mark and celebrate the 85th anniversary of Christ United Methodist Church, and remember the countless lives you have touched through outreach, service, Bible studies, and worship, may you continue to keep the fire of your faith burning brightly and continue to be a beacon of hope and love in your community. May God's blessing and guidance be with you. Amen.
Well, thank you, Nestor. Nestor, as you may know, is a district superintendent for the Mid-Ohio District, and they're in a bunch of things going on right now, and he's in Chicago this weekend. So he sent this to me from his hotel room in Chicago yesterday. So, wait, one other pastor, Roland, do you want to say anything, or?
I'm good, thanks.
You're good? You'll get a chance in a minute. Okay, I want to share a personal note. When I was getting ready for this the celebration service, I came across this letter from my father from 1960. Some people ask, how I became involved in this church, how my sister became involved in this church. Our parents moved here, my mother from Northern Ontario, Canada, and my father from Virginia. My father came for a job. My mother, I think, was escaping from her mother. And they met here in Christ Church in 1958, 1959 in the singlets class. And I found this letter, and I'll share the juicy parts with you later if you'd like, but what I thought was so cool, it's like he's writing this letter in March of 1960 to his sister in Virginia. He says, well, I guess it's about time I told you the news. I lost your address. So Norma Elizabeth McBain is from Kirkland Lake, and she came to Cleveland about a year and a half ago, because Kirkland is such a small town. She's crazy about baseball and football, and especially ice hockey, which is the greatest game in Canada. I started taking her to hockey games, and before I knew it, we were in love. This is my 39-year-old father, by the way, okay? It's not like he's an 18-year-old, 39-year-old father. I knew we were in love. Nothing has ever hit me like this before. And 2 weeks ago, the 27th of February, we got back from the hockey game, and I asked her if she would marry me, and she said, uh-huh. She never said yes, but she said, uh-huh. So I think that counts. And he goes on, he writes some more, talks about sports games and things like that. But I'm sure you'll love Norma. She's a little big, but not too big. I'll send you a picture when I get them developed. Her sister, Catherine, is the glamour girl in the family, but Norma says she can't cook. And Norma can cook really well. She's a good cook. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Norma's a librarian, and she goes on. So when we walked into Sunday school yesterday, and she flashed her ring, the 2 men in the class, this is the singlets class, congratulated me, and Mr. and Mrs. Hoffman, the teachers, congratulated us too. But the girls in the class didn't say a thing. They just sat there like they were stunned or something, and they haven't said anything to me yet. This is like a month later. I didn't think they took me that seriously. You see, this is the singlets class, and everybody is single except for the teachers. And I didn't think that any of those girls would worry if I got taken away, but maybe I was wrong. So, there are 13 girls and 3 boys, and the Sunday school teacher said, well, Phil, I'm not sure which Phil this was, you better get on the ball pretty soon, because you'll be pretty much the only single man left. So I thought I'd share that. It was just I only have 2 letters from my father that I found, and the other one was all about working at the post office and how he was making $250 a week, talking to his mother. But anyway, so here's me. About a year and a half later, that's me and my parents. So some of you knew my folks. So I wanted to share that. But today, I know you've been waiting for it. It's been 10 years since we played Christ Church Jeopardy, and this is the 85th anniversary edition. So, welcome to Jeopardy, where all the answers are in form of a question, the rules are just suggestions, and the score doesn't count, but everyone wins. I'm not going to keep score, so if you have an answer, raise your hand. We're going to go through and play a little bit of Jeopardy. So I will let somebody go first. Cheryl, I'm going to let you go first because you're sitting next to Paul. You get to pick the category and the dollar amount. Now, 500 isn't necessarily harder than 100, okay? They're kind of random. But we have 4 categories. We have history, 1938, pastorology, and a grab bag. And everything is about our church and our pastors and people in our congregation. So, what do you think? Where would you like to start, Cheryl? For 200. Pastorology for 200. Let's take a look. Also, what can happen to your shoestrings? This person was the first senior pastor of Christ Church. Anybody know? You get control of the board if you know the answer. I'll give it to Mitzi. Mitzi is the second oldest member of our congregation, by the way. So, Mitzi, you get to pick, let's see, Reverend Dr. Ernest Bounce. All right, you get to pick the next category, Mitzi. Category and dollar amount.
Grab bag 300.
Grab bag 300. A video memory. So who do you recognize in that picture?
Joe Gideon.
Bill Mitchell. We have the 45 with Phil.
Joe
Gideon?
Dave Elliott.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Over on the right.
So this song was first made popular in the year of a 10th anniversary of Bethany Methodist Episcopal Church. So anybody have an idea of what the name of this song is?
No idea.
It'd be 1903. What is You're as Welcome as the Flowers in May, 1903. Right here on our stage, probably in 1953 is what I'm guessing. Mitzi, you get to pick the next category because nobody had the answer for that one. Or next dollar amount. 200, 1938 for 200. Another video memory. Wait till the question. Wait till you get an answer. Okay, so this child actress, so your answer is wrong. This child actress starred in this movie that was released when Christ Church was dedicated in 1939. Who is Judy Garland? I'll give it to you, Marie. Congratulations. Who is Judy Garland? Okay, so you get to pick the next category and the dollar amount.
Okay, I would love to pick 1938 for $400.
For 400. This Cleveland-born superhero made his debut in the comics in June 1938.
Superman.
Way in the back. Yep.
Superman.
Superman, congratulations. Dennis?
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird.
So Dennis, you get to pick the next category, dollar amount.
Grab bag for 200.
Grab bag for 200. The ghost of this Christ Church founder is said to haunt a Baldwin Wallace University dormitory. Paul says Emma Lang. Oh, the answer is, who is Emma Lang? It's a really great. There's some really great information about this. Emma Lang and the family donated money toward Lang Hall, the all-female dormitory at the time at BW, 1928. And I don't know if she was a house mother or not, but there's rumors that she would sit in the front lobby and make sure no men would come or boys would come and sneak up into the all-girls dormitory. So there have been sightings of a ghost of Emma Lang roaming the halls of Lang Hall to this day, jingling her keys. And so if you ever, just Google Emma Lang's ghost, and you'll find some interesting information about Emma Lang. Yeah, that's Paul's great aunt. All right, Paul, you get to pick the next category in dollar amount. Anything that's not underlined. Or blue, anything that's not in blue. For history, that's already been taken. Let's do 300. So Rockport Methodist Church was founded in this year on the Old German Settlement Road. That's what West 130th was called back in the day. And the same year as Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. What was the year? Marie, do you know?
What was 1863?
Very good. What is 1863? Now you might think that Rockport would be in Rocky River, but back in this time, all of the west side of Cuyahoga was pretty much called Rockport Township, and our church was at 4600 West 130th Street, south of Bel Air and just north of Brook Park. That's where our very, very first grandparent church was, Rockport. And that's where the Stockers, Paul's family, were involved. Yeah. Okay, so Marie, pick another question.
I'll pick grab bag for 100. Grab bag.
Okay, 1 decade before the end of this U.S. Civil War, this is when our church bell was cast. The bell in our belfry. The clue is 1 decade before the end of the U.S. Civil War, guys. Way in the back.
What is 1855?
I think you're right. There you go. Congratulations. Our bell started out at Rockport, and then it moved to Bethany's Belfry, and then when they merged with us, they moved it again to Christchurch. This bell kept following us. It's the oldest member of our church. It still rings. Derek rang it today after the service. He didn't do it 85 times, but he did ring it. So way in the back, where do you want to go next?
Let's try pastorology for 300, please.
Pastorology. Oh, a video memory. Oh, this is a good one.
Prior to coming to Christchurch.
In 1984. Where did Rollins serve before he came here? Kathy.
Berea Methodist.
Let's see. Berea United Methodist. We were your first full-time assignment, full assignment, right? As far as senior pastor? Oh, okay. So Kathy, where do you want to go?
I don't know. There you go.
Anything white?
1938, 300.
1938, 300. Orson Welles created a radio panic when he broadcast this on national radio. 85 years ago next week? Okay, who answered that? I'll get that to you, Linda. What is War of the Worlds?
On the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has...
You can listen to it on your own. Where would you like to go, Linda?
Pastorology for 500.
Pastorology for 500? The nursery rhyme Billy Boy could be about this former Christ Church pastor. This is a tough one. Well, you got all the pastors on your sheet, so it's one of those people on your sheet. Do you know the nursery rhyme Billy Boy?
No.
Oh, where have you gone, Billy Boy, Billy Boy? Oh, where have you gone? She's a young thing and cannot leave her mother. So who's the answer? What's the question? Who is Reverend Darlene Robinson? She's a young thing and cannot leave her mother. Linda, go back to the board. You get to pick a question. Linda, pick something.
History for 500.
History for 500. Another video memory. Whoa. That's on this stage, by the way. Well, the question was, who was the pastor when this show was performed in